Hi there, welcome to episode 176 of the WaveBack Music Podcast. My name is Chris.
And I'm Matt.
And we're here to listen to the most interesting video game music there is. The 16-bit era was chock full of mascot platformers, the likes of Sonic the Hedgehog, Arrow the Acrobat, James Pond, and of course, Zero the Kamikaze Squirrel were positively everywhere. But there was one mascot that had a special, extra enduring quality that simply refuses to die. Yes, we're talking about a bobcat and a t-shirt with an exclamation point on it, and darn it does he have some things to say. Beware the cheese wheels of doom, because tonight we listen to the music of Bubsy in Claws Encounters of the Third Kind for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Well, hi there, Matt.
Hi there, Chris.
How you doing?
Just another day in paradise.
You said it, my man. You said it. Things couldn't be more things.
Tell me about it.
Well, I've just been excruciatingly busy and doing a lot of extra work to pull in extra money, and just still not quite making ends meet. Yesterday, for our movie podcast, we did a marathon of all the Karate Kid movies, which was exhausting. The next Karate Kid really takes a lot out of you. If you've never seen it. Those movies really just dip in quality considerably one after the other. I still love the first. The first one's a masterpiece. The second one is strange, but still very entertaining. The third one is a dumpster fire, but still entertaining. The next Karate Kid is abysmal. The Karate Kid animated series is also terrible. And the 2010 Karate Kid with Jackie Chan and Jaden Smith is pointless. So, yeah, it was an interesting day.
I have nothing to add to that.
It was fun watching the first one with the kids. Ellie reacted to the first Karate Kid exactly how you would want. Like, she thought Miyagi was just having him do chores, and then he did the wax on, wax off thing, and she was like, oh, he knows karate! It's like, yes, yes. And she was so mad at Johnny when he swept the leg at the end. Like, when he heard him, she was just like, oh, no! Oh, this is great. This is great. Oh, man. No, it was a good time. It was a good time. It was just exhausting. And this week is already exhausting, right? I have, we're recording this tonight. We're recording again on Thursday. Recording Stone Age Gamer early because on Friday, Karen got me tickets to go see Bit Brigade on Friday, so that's going to be fun.
Where are you seeing them?
Atlantic City.
Nice. They always play like Greenpoint in Brooklyn, and while when I had my beer delivery job, that was my walking route. Like, that was my sales route. It's still a hassle for me to get to, and I really want to see them so bad.
Yeah, they're doing the Castlevania and Zelda show, and it's 15 minutes away. it's no problem at all.
Yeah, enjoy.
And Tuesday, I'm having people over to test the multiplayer mode in Nintendo World Championships because I have to review it. So I'm just trying to get a proper 8-player game going because that game goes up to 8 local players, which is kind of nuts. So I'm gonna put that through its pace. But that means I'm busy every night this week. I have no night to just sit on the couch and watch television, which is, I didn't really have any of those last week either, and I'm really running myself. This summer's been really hard. This summer's been super tough. I got that promotion last year, so I'm doing a lot more work this year, and Karen's in the office 2 days a week this summer. She wasn't last year, and I have a second dog, which I have to walk twice a day. Like, this summer's just been really, really brutal. But not so brutal that I can't dedicate this evening to listening to Bubsy music.
Yeah.
And what's new with you? Anything you need to add before we get started on our journey?
At this time, no, not really. I'm just, living the 9-to-5 dream.
Cool. I don't want everyone to think that you just listened to all my troubles and I didn't listen to
No.
you. We talked before the show.
We had a lot to talk about before the show, yes.
I'm not a bad, selfish friend, I swear.
He's not. I promise you, he is not. No, we talked a bunch before the show. I got to talk about some things that are, not quite ready to talk about yet to reveal. But, if everything goes well and maybe an episode or two, I'll have some, really exciting news and I get to share with everyone. But,
I love exciting news. I just found out a friend of mine is having a kid. There's a bun in the oven for a good friend of mine. I'm very excited for him. So congratulations to him. I don't think he listens to the show. And if he did, he probably wouldn't listen to this episode because really.
Who would?
People who are listening to it, you're in for a good time because I tell you, this game may not be great. Bubsy may be not great, but this game's soundtrack is adequate. So Matt,
yes,
hit us with some history.
Jeez. All right. Bubsy and Claws of Counters of the Third Kind was released for the Super NES in May of 1993 and on Sega Genesis a few months later in July. Its design was heavily inspired by Sonic the Hedgehog, crossed with numerous extremely outdated Hollywood stereotypes, which somehow garnered it a lot of pre-release hype. Unfortunately, after its release, said hype disappeared rather quickly thanks to the game's wonky physics, infuriating difficulty, and the oversaturation of the mascot platformer market. Still, it was popular enough to garner multiple sequels on the Jaguar, PlayStation, and even the Switch and PS4. He remains Accolade's mascot, more or less, to this day.
Here's a fun, ridiculous fact about Accolade. So Accolade was in competition with other, developers at the time, and when Accolade was out there, Acclaim was forming. And Acclaim called themselves Acclaim because it was alphabetically before Accolade. Accolade's thing was they would always show up first in alphabetical lists. So Acclaim was like, well, we got to come up with a name that'll come up alphabetically before Accolade. And then they did.
Aardvark.
Well, Aardvark
my gaming company.
Well, but that would be after Accolade alphabetically. Oh, no, AARV. Yeah, good point. Yeah, Aardvark. Yeah. Anyway, this game's soundtrack was composed by Matt Berardo. His other works include Sim Ant for MS-DOS, Fire Team Rogue for Super NES, and the updated PC port of this very game, Super Bubsy. So, Matt, what is your history with Bubsy the Bobcat?
Oh, God. I've definitely played this one. I'm not too happy about it. No, everything that I read in that history is accurate, right? Like you said, there's a lot of the mascot games at the time, and this game was infuriating. I found it actually rather obnoxious. I found the Bubsy to be rather obnoxious because he had all those quippy one-liners and stuff, and after a certain amount of time, you're like, please just shut the hell up.
What could possibly go wrong?
Right.
More like a bridge too short. I can keep this up all day. I played this game so much.
I'm sure you can. But, I have such a soft spot in my heart for 16-bit graphics. So, I mean, this game was actually kind of pretty in its own way, and I appreciated the animations. Sure. There was a lot to really like about the game. There's a lot of good, but it never, its parts and its sum, you know what I mean? They never were equal. I'm sure, how did I play this? I'm sure I rented it. I had to have rented it because I can't imagine any one of my friends owning this. So it was probably a Blockbuster game that we rented a couple times, and then we thought, oh God, maybe not. We rented it because it was like the only thing left or something like that. So, not a ton. I can't imagine I got very far in the game. It was very hard.
It was indeed. I own this game. I actually own every Bubsy game. That's me. I'm that
I don't know
guy.
if I would say that out loud.
So this one, I was super hyped for this before it came out because there was a lot of hype around this game before it came out. It's a very good looking game, so it looked great in screenshots. Like, 'cause you can't tell that the gameplay is kind of ass by looking at screenshots. You're just looking at these great screenshots, and also it came out on Super Nintendo first, so it was kind of like this. Oh, this is our version of Sonic the Hedgehog, suckers. So, and me being the console warrior I was at the time, I was very, I was really pumped for this game. So I got it, and I spent a lot of time with it. I did eventually finish it. It is not easy, and it is really, really obnoxious because Bubsy is so fragile. He's so ridiculously fragile. Everything just instantly kills you. And the animations for him dying aren't always obvious that they've killed you, right? Because he's a cartoon character, and he does these cartoon character-looking things, and so you'd think that he's just going to snap back like a cartoon character, but he doesn't. So it's this game, looking at it now, like with the objectivity of being an adult and not being a kid, who's like, well, this is the game I have. It's really something to go back and look at this game and just see it for what it actually is. And it is some decent ideas. I don't think Bubsy's a terrible character design.
No,
he's not awful. The voices are a bit obnoxious, but again, they were really impressive coming out of the Super Nintendo, right? Like, they're just sound like a cartoon character making quips. That's pretty neat. It's the level design, and the insta kills that really hurt this game. The thing that makes Sonic work as well as it does is that as long as you have a ring, you're invincible. Like, you can keep getting hit as long as before you get hit again, you collect at least one ring. So it had that going for it. This game doesn't have that. Everything just instantly kills you no matter what. And that's like super obnoxious. So it's got some serious design flaws, but there's a decent game in here. Which is why I will always have a soft spot for the first Bubsy game. The problem is that much like Karate Kid movies, every subsequent Bubsy game has been worse than the last. That is until the most recent one, which is just like weirdly just like the Karate Kid. Like, yeah, the 2010 Karate Kid was pointless. It wasn't a bad movie. It just wasn't great. And that's kind of like how the new modern Bubsies were, right? Because Bubsy 2 is just, it tried to fix problems, but everything else was worse around it. Like, it just recycled elements. The animations were worse. The level design was, everything was just more plodding. It wasn't a good game. It didn't have the soul that the first game did, right? Because the first game, you could tell the people that made the first game gave a crap about it. They didn't do a good job, but they tried. I think there was some attempts at making a good game in there. There just wasn't in Bubsy 2. And then the third one on Jaguar is a huge step back. Terrible music, worse controls, just bad. And then Bubsy 3D is just legendary in its unfortunate timing. We're like, all right, we're figuring out this 3D platforming stuff. We're doing a good job. And then before the game can even come out, Nintendo's just like, here's Super Mario 64. And it's just like, well, shit, what do we do now? We can't do that. So, that was the last Bubsy game for a good long while until, what was it? The PS4 one, which was made by the Gianna Sisters team. And it was just the most bland game I've ever played. And then they did Choice Provisions did one, which was basically like Bit Trip Runner, but with Bubsy, even referencing the cartoon. And it's like, okay, this is decent, but it's not as good as Runner. And it's ultimately pointless. Like, why is this here? It's so strange. But I spent a ton of time. What do you mean? Like, that's the thing. People would say this is a cash grab, but no one's buying it. There's no cash to grab. Like, obviously, like, it struck me as they wanted somebody to be up to the task of making a good Bubsy game, and they reached out to Choice Provisions, and they were like, yeah, we can do that. And then they made a game that still wasn't like, Bubsy is just cursed. Somebody's got to be able to make a good game out of this, but I feel like it's going to take a real step back. Because like the other thing about Bubsy Paws on Fire is it played like Runner. It didn't play like a Bubsy game. So like it had none of the tenets that made the original game almost decent.
Right.
But I digress. We're here to talk about Bubsy. So I put together a track list. I cut out a handful of the lesser songs. There's some like jingles and whatnot that didn't really need to be here. So we're just going to listen to the main music in the game, the big stuff. And we're going to start, well, we opened with Bubsy the Bobcat. That's the title theme that plays over the title screen. It's a perfectly bouncy little song. We are listening to the Super Nintendo version because the Genesis version of this soundtrack is stupid. It is this, but worse in every conceivable way. So this is actually a surprisingly well put together soundtrack with some really high quality instrument choices, some very decent compositions. Removing this entirely from the Bubsy mythos, it's actually kind of fun music. So we're going to listen to the most famous song from any Bubsy game, which is The Village. It's the first level of the first Bubsy game, which is probably about as far as most people got when playing this game before throwing the controller in frustration or yelling at their parents for buying them this crappy game. But this is The Village. This is a great tune. It's going to go on for a little while because this song weirdly takes a very, very, very long time to resolve. Like, it's going to repeat a few times, and then there's going to be this resolution to it before it repeats again. Like, it's got this extra bit. So, I don't know, strap in for 4 minutes and 18 seconds of some killer Bubsy music. Here's The Village. Enjoy. And that was The Village from the first Bubsy game. I'm not saying that title over and over again. That is such a magnificent song. I don't care what anyone says. That song is magnificent. It is so well put together. The walking bass line is so much fun. All the instruments are they're really high quality instruments. They're nice and sharp. They sound great. There's so much stereo separation going on with the little saxophone notes to the left and the right throughout the whole song. It's a joyous, jaunty little tune that just sounds like the perfect little platformer music. Even the stage it's attached to is like the ridiculous waterfalls in the background. Like, it's just ripped straight out of generic platformer playbook, but it's done so earnestly, it's kind of ridiculously good. I don't know, I freaking love that song. It's so fun. And it's been a while since I've really listened to it. You know, it shows up in the background from time to time when I'm listening to random video game music, but this is the first time in a long time I've really just sat and listened to the tune and just kind of paid attention to the actual composition of it. It's kind of brilliant. I love it.
Yes. You basically said a lot of what I was going to say, especially about the instrumentation, the quality of those samples, the stereo separation, the verb and a bit of delay to give it space. And yes, it is out of the generic platformer playbook. Got to agree 100%. It's what I think, like, the first, or the perfect first level music. There's not necessarily any indication sonically what you're about to get into, giving away what you got to, but like you said, the character's fragile, and then the frustration sets in, and here we go.
Yeah,
but
you
on a
start
whole,
listening to it, and then you die 4 seconds in, and you just keep hearing the beginning. Oh, he's dead. It's like, okay, the charm's worn off. I hate you.
Very Groundhog's Day.
Yeah.
You could have replaced Bubsy the Bobcat with a groundhog, you know what I mean? But that being said, though, you're absolutely right. It's a very beautiful composition. Very hokey, of course, but I mean, that's what's required, if you ask me. I think it's done very well. It's done in a very like, we know what we're doing sort of way, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, we know what we're about, and this is what we're about. Have fun. Of course,
Yeah.
nobody had fun, but
No, not even an inch.
There was fun to have later on in the game. But yeah, that's The Village. It's a great tune, and there's a lot more where that came from. So this next track is called The Carnival, because the second area was the Carnival. And it's carnival music. This is video game ass carnival music is what this is. Just taking a page directly out of the Sonic the Hedgehog playbook, because that had like carnival themed stages in the Sonic games as well. And it's a solid tune. So here is The Carnival. Enjoy. It just makes me want to eat cotton candy and ride a Ferris wheel and get ripped off by boardwalk games.
Just like Grandpa used to make.
Yes, indeed.
So it certainly is midway carnival music, if by way of something else. So I get it. It's not quite, the carnival I think that I'm used to or have been made used to. But nonetheless, it's still good. I'm not the biggest fan of this one per se. I find actually some of the choices are a little sharp, kind of grating on the ears. Like, I'm not saying someone do this, but if you were to find me, kidnap me, and torture me, this is the song you would play for 12 hours straight. I guarantee you within the fifth minute, I'd give up and say you can have whatever you want. But I digress. Okay. All jokes aside, it isn't terrible, right? It's good in its own right. It works for this game. Just, for me, not the best track.
Yeah, no, it's not a great song. It's effective for what it's setting out to do, which is, a very old-fashioned carnival, right? Because, like I said in the description, this game kind of hinges a lot on old themes. Like basically, it's almost like it's pretending to take place as a contemporary of Looney Tunes. So it's like making these references to Clint Eastwood and old style like this, the carnival. Like, this isn't what carnivals sound like anymore. There's not pipe organs playing stuff at carnivals anymore. There weren't in the 90s, at least as far as I know. It's just this game clinging to a reality that didn't really exist at the time. But it's all part of its charm. It's all part of the show.
Yes, it is.
Well, Matt, I've been looking forward to this next track. You know why? Do you know why?
No, why?
Because you thought after last episode that you had escaped all the 16-bit banjo music you were going to get, but you were wrong, sir. You chose another game with 16-bit banjos. This is the Wild West. It's got banjo music in it. Enjoy. So I have to say that this tune is very, very, it's very well suited to the stage that it's set to. This is, these stages are all kind of odd because this song and the next song are partnered together in like mini stages. So each stage that's part of this world first part is the Wild West tune, which takes place on a moving train. So this song really kind of fits that, like the cadence of the banjo almost sounds like the cadence of old style, like Wild West style train tracks. So it really does fit that kind of like, it's almost like a circus train you're on, because there's like big giraffes that are sticking out of the top and you can bounce off their heads and stuff. They're really, this is one of those parts of the game that you look at and say, man, if they had just nailed the mechanics, this is where things really would have started getting good. And unfortunately, it's much like earlier in the game. It is again just excruciatingly easy to die. There's just crates laying around that if you land on them, thumbtacks will fall out and you'll pop like a balloon instantly. And it's like, come on, game, just let me have fun. You've set me up to have fun, and you're ruining it at every possible instance. You suck. There's also just this like little subtle, almost like accordion melody that's happening in the background. Like there's more to this song than it initially seems. It's not, it's not a masterpiece, but I think it's a very pleasant little song.
It is like a little. It's almost like a ditty at a, you know, um, the you and your banjos. Um, I gotta be honest with you, they really just disappeared wherever they went in this song. I was really kind of hoping for a bit more to just to make your intro that much more grandiose. But this wasn't terrible. Based on the visual you've laid out to say, oh, this is the level, whatever, it makes a lot of sense in its own right. This is good. It's not as crazy as I maybe envisioned. What do you call it? 16-bit banjos, especially from the last episode. So
right,
maybe that set the bar.
Oh, don't worry, Matt.
Palatable.
You're not done with the 16-bit banjos on this soundtrack. There's more to come.
Oh
yeah, but not in this next song. No, this next song.
Okay.
The next song is so after you finish the train, you go into the canyon, and then you get back on the train, and then you go into the canyon, etc., until you get to the boss. The into the canyon part, I love this tune. I think this next tune is extremely catchy. This is a little bit more video game cowboy music, if it makes sense. I think it'll make sense when you hear it. It's like the main melody is whistled. I think it's a catchy tune. I think this is another one more similar to The Village, where the instrumentation really works. I'm a fan of this one. So here is Into the Canyon from Bubsy. Enjoy. Was Into the Canyon. I find that song to be very pleasant. I really like the piano melody. I think piano is the right word. Like that slightly old style piano that you would hear in an old Western saloon or something. That I think that's what they're going for with that piano-ish sound. That sounds almost more like a harpsichord, I guess. But I really like the little melodies, the counter melodies that they kind of sprinkled in there. I think it's neat. I do think the whistling does to get just the sound of it in general is a bit grating, but the melody of it I find quite lovely. I think it's a good song.
So you answered my first question, which is, what the hell is that instrument supposed to be? I figured it was supposed to be a piano, like you said, a saloon piano.
Yeah.
All joking aside, like I'm pretty. I'd place my last dollar on that. That's what that was supposed to be.
Yeah, that makes the most sense with the Wild West theme that they had going on here.
Mm-hmm. But I will agree with you. I actually did like that melody a lot. It had an interesting. I don't know what it was about it that caught me, but I kept kind of my ear kept kind of going back to that. I kind of liked its plodding pace. This like slow poke, trek through the canyon in its own way. It was good. It was a much better song than the Carnival.
Right. Well, yes. Not the hardest, not the highest bar to cross.
Yeah, right. I was gonna say a Stick in the Ear might be the better song than the Carnival, but I don't want to find out.
Oh, come now, it's not that bad. Well, all right. It's time to move on to here's your banjo. Here's your banjo, buddy boy. And this ain't a short one either. This is one of our longer tracks. So strap yourself in. This is an interesting tune. It is definitely more banjo heavy, and it does kind of build on itself in a really interesting way. This is one of those songs that you almost wouldn't expect from this game, in that it attempts to be kind of genuinely pretty from time to time. But it's also very banjo-y and weird. So it's an odd tune. I'm a big fan of it. Here is The Frontier from Bubsy. Enjoy. So I'm very curious. What did you think of that song?
It was a little long for what it was doing, but it wasn't bad at all, actually. I kind of really enjoyed it. That lone whistle that gets associated with, I don't know, like cowboy movies in the desert at night or something. The banjo wasn't terrible, but I think if you really paid close attention to it, it never did anything else, so it could have been maddening. But because I think it had all this other melody on top of it, it kind of gets lost, which is maybe its saving grace. All in all, though, not a terrible song though. I enjoyed it.
So yeah, the banjo might be one of my favorite things about this song. Not necessarily in execution, but in there was never a point where it was like they really attempted to do that, right? Like there's points where you hear it, they'll do like a real quick like triple strum, and like the banjo kept going. It wasn't always doing the same exact thing over and over again. Like it kind of followed along with the song in really interesting ways. I'm not sure that it was as effective as it was attempting to be, but they never stopped trying. Like this song really sounds like a song that someone was really trying to make. I don't know how successful they were, but an effort was made, and I find it to be a really fascinating piece of music. Because like, you know, when everything drops out except for that kind of like, I don't know, weird harmonica almost sounding main instrument and the banjo, like when it kind of just cuts out to just those two and those moments, like it's actually really threatening to be pretty for a minute. Like it's really flirting with that concept of being pretty, and then just kind of rolling right back. It's a wild tune. It is not. It doesn't need to be that long, and it isn't that long. It just kind of repeats, like where it's strange that this track, wherever I had downloaded this from, what goes up to 4 minutes 25 seconds, where the village, you heard that one extra piece of music, right, that tacks on there when it loops a couple of times. This one doesn't really have that extra piece, so I'm not sure why it loops this many times in the recording that I have. But regardless, it is an interesting tune, and I'm a fan.
That's all that matters, Chris.
Right? That's why we're here, because I like Bubsy. Even though you picked
it. I picked it for nefarious reasons.
All right, so we're going to move on to The Jungle, and this is actually one of my favorite songs in the game. This is just a cool, catchy tune. I really, really like this one a lot. All the instruments work. It's fun. It's fun. It's easy, and you're going to learn all about it. I haven't seen The Crow in way too long. Anyway, here is The Jungle from Bubsy. Enjoy. And that was The Jungle. I think the thing I like so much about this song is the way that the main melody in the beginning, the harmonies that go with that, I think are really interesting. Now it's just kind of like the harmonies wind up just being this scale going downwards, matching up with this melody they came up with. I think it's just a clever little song, and it's very catchy, just a bit jaunty, if I dare say.
I definitely gotta agree with you. It is very catchy. It's very catchy in the way the first level, the village, is very catchy too. I hear it's got a very side scroller profile to it. Side scroller profile. Anyway, it's fun. Hang on a second. My air conditioner's on for some weird reason. We're gonna cut all that out. Yeah, it's a fun track. It's fun. Again, it's fun the way the village is fun. It's very upbeat. It's very peppy. It's like I couldn't help but kind of like, bop my head to it in its own way. You're spot on with those melodies. Bip, bam, bip, 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 like that. That's still playing in my head right now, and I have to work really hard to get it out.
Yeah, don't work too hard. Let's catch a little tune. It's worse things to have stuck in your head.
It's true.
It's true indeed. All right, we're going to move on to... So this game's got a bunch of like kind of obnoxious boss music, so I skipped a lot of that. This next one is the Woolies ship. This is the space level towards the end of the game where you go on the Woolies spaceship and fight the alien Woolies. I don't know. It's an okay tune. It's clearly trying to be epic, cheesy sci-fi soundtrack music, except done with the same instruments we've been hearing so far through the game. So it's weird. Anyway, here's the Woolly ship. Enjoy. Yep, that was the Woolly ship, all right.
Your description was so spot on. It scored a bullseye. You can absolutely hear what they were attempting to achieve, but with not the right implementation. You know what I mean? Like you're trying to build a rocket to go to the moon.
Using the instruments that they have used thus far for this song just really didn't work. but the composition's really not bad. Like it's not a bad tune. It's just, it's not a remarkable one. But yeah, they didn't bring the right tools to the job.
No, not by any stretch of the imagination. So, I mean, they get an A for effort. I mean, look, the track is fun enough. I think when you having someone preface it the way you did going into it, you get a good idea of, what you're stepping into.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't. I've always said aim low, hit high. So for me, this wasn't as terrible as maybe going in blind, so to speak. But
Yeah, it was certainly a song that we listened to. Just because I needed to have some of this game's kind of obnoxious boss music in here just to represent it. Here is the Great Wooly, which I believe is the final boss, if I remember correctly. It's not very long, so good luck. So yeah, what they did with a lot of the boss music in this game was just take the song for whatever stage it was, and then make it worse and more repetitive.
Yeah, that was not good.
No.
We've spent an inordinate amount of time talking about boss music on this show, particularly. No.
Yeah, so we're just going to go ahead and move right on from that. This next one's super short, but it always makes me smile. This is when you beat a stage, this is what you get to hear. So even when the game is so obnoxious that you just want to break it in two, it's still whenever I finish a stage, no matter how bad it is, this little bit just kind of makes me smile. So this is actually the last song, right? I kind of lost track there. Yeah, this is the last song we're going to be listening to. So we're going to go out on a high note, a short note, but a high note. Yes, I know you.
Up on us.
I know you have 2 files left. Don't worry, I have an explanation for that last one. This is I Win. Enjoy. There you go. That's just a happy little celebration tune.
Yeah, it was.
That's exactly what it is.
I'd just be making stuff up.
Yeah, we're not going to go on a deep dive on that one.
No.
What are you going to say? It's just a happy little celebration tune, and it washes the taste of that crappy boss music right out of your mouth. Look,
it does. It did.
This was Bubsy. We all knew what we were getting into when we got here.
Yes.
There's some genuinely good stuff here. There were the bones of something that if they had managed to improve on what they did in this game in both soundtrack and game design, I would say the Bubsy franchise would still be around, but it is still around. So
in spite of itself.
In spite of itself, it's still here. It's going to be a whole collection of Bubsy games coming soon on modern platforms, so we'll be able to play Bubsy on modern platforms.
Yep. Uh-huh. That's what I'm gonna do.
Oh, you better believe I'm going to be buying it. No question.
Oh, I know you will.
I'm hoping that it's going to be handled with care, right? It looks like it seems like it's being done Carbon Engine with limited run games, and they did the quite excellent Rocket Knight Adventures collection that I've been playing through. So they're gonna treat it with care, and it's gonna be interesting to see how well it plays. They said they were gonna add some quality of life stuff to try to make it a little bit more tolerable.
Okay.
I have questions about the game selection because it's not finalized, but thus far it doesn't appear to have the Jaguar game listed. It just says Bubsy, Bubsy 2, Bubsy 2 for Game Boy, and Bubsy 3D. But it's called the Perfect Collection, and you can't really call it the Perfect Collection if it's missing Super Bubsy, which is effectively the first Bubsy game, but it's been like redrawn and the soundtrack's redone. It's very interesting. But most especially the third Bubsy game, the Jaguar game. You can't really call it the Perfect Collection if you're missing a whole ass game. So
I think you should write an email.
I did. I said that not an email. I said that specifically to them on Twitter. I said, look, you're going to do this. Do this. Okay.
Oh my God.
And I'm sure they listened. I'm sure.
Oh, well, no question. They know who they're dealing with?
They know who they're dealing with. I own all the Bubsy games. I'm the one. I have the damn Game Boy game. I couldn't find an actual box, so I bought a reproduction of it. I have a reproduction box for the Game Boy Cop version of Bubsy 2.
You need to take this man seriously.
Because if there's anything that having a complete Bubsy collection says, it's take this man seriously.
Yes, I wasn't kidding. Because someone as deranged as you could really hurt some people. I mean, look how badly you're hurting yourself.
I feel great. But yes, with that, we're gonna wrap things up here. I think that's all we have.
Yes, sir.
That's all we have left. That was Bubsy. You're welcome. And that's our show. Join us next time when I'm going to hit you with one hell of a palate cleanser, because next time we're going to listen to, honest to God, one of the best soundtracks to ever come out of a Nintendo Entertainment System. We'll be listening to the music of Ninja Gaiden 2, The Dark Sword of Chaos.
Sweet. Love it. Let's do it.
Sweet indeed. I love this soundtrack. It is amazing. So that's going to be our next episode. I'm very excited about it. And with that, we here at the WaveBack Podcast are incredibly grateful to everyone who listens, especially anyone who made it this far into this episode. And we love communicating with you when we can. We have a couple of ways you can do that. There's the Geekade Discord channel, in which we have a WaveBack chat, where we frequently discuss all manner of stuff related to video game music and whatever our next episodes are going to be. Of course, you can still always send us an email at mail@geekade.com. And while you're at it, check out our social media channels, which you should totally follow, like, and subscribe to if you haven't already. WaveBack and other Geekade podcasts are made possible thanks to the Geekade Patreon page. There, patrons can get access to a monthly podcast topic and recording schedule, get early access to most of Geekade's shows, including this one, and more. If you've enjoyed our podcasts over the years, follow the link in the description and give it a look. We really appreciate it. Finally, as always, be sure to check out all the other great content we have on our site over at geekade.com. We're going to leave you with Bubsy's Getaway. It's the ending music. It's fine. It's only 53 seconds long, and I promise you, if you sit through the ending music, Bubsy's Getaway, there's a special surprise waiting for you at the end of the rainbow. Thank you for listening, and good night.
What could possibly go wrong? Did I mention I don't like heights? More like a bridge too short. Hey, whatever blows your hair back. Hey, I thought I saw Elvis back there. Shouldn't that be fearless? Uh-oh. Well, it worked for Clint. Go ahead, make my day. My contract does not mention paint. Hey, I didn't like this stuff. Next time, I get a stunt cat. Is there a veterinarian in the audience? That's it, I'm out of here. You can't make me. What, and give up show business? Somebody dial 911. Whoa, are you still playing this thing?